and that when humans have sex and a baby's created, those souls jump into those babies. And if the baby's killed, the soul jumps out and just floats around again, waiting for the next one. And
it's almost like Mormonism.
Yeah, it's really bizarre. And he was sincere about this. He wasn't just making it up to placate me. I said, you mean they're just out here floating around in some kind of limbo or never, never land or whatever it is, and they just kind of indiscriminately jump in and out of bodies? I said, so is it possible for, let's say, a soul to jump into a body, the baby's born, the baby gets to be 6, and the soul decides, I don't like this body, I want to get into another one, so he jumps out, and that for a while that baby doesn't have a soul, and until another one jumps in, and he said, well, I don't know about that, I don't know how that works, but I guess it's possible. But you know, once you drift off from the place where you say there are absolutes, some things are true, some things are not true, some things are evil, some things are good, some things are sin, some things aren't. Once you drift beyond that, then this idea that souls can be floating around out here, that's just much...
Well, we've got a bedrock foundation. You started the conversation off with it. We believe that the Bible is the inerrant Word of God.
Yes.
Exactly. Well, now, moving on here, last year we talked about a situation that was going on in Tennessee where these people were putting together this funeral procession for unborn babies, and it got a lot bigger than they thought it was going to get, and had a really good response to it. You know, and a lot of things like this happen in the pro-life movement that are kind of one-time deals. They happen and they work, and people then go on to do something else. That's not the case here, and
that's already been a year?
It's been a year. I can't believe it. We get old, man. Your time whistles past, doesn't it? We're going to bring in here now Aaron Jones, who was with us originally, who's the guy who started this idea. He's the pastor at Trinity Chapel in Knoxville. Hello, Aaron.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Just fine, sir. How are you doing?
I'm doing great today.
Well, we hear now that this thing has gone into a second year.
Yes.
And that it actually got bigger the second time than the first.
Yeah. Well, the way it got bigger was we had 4 other cities participate at the same time in their respective cities, and they did a funeral procession themselves. Our procession, we had 300 cars last year. We had 300 cars this year, but we also added 3 more hearses. So we had 4 hearses in the front of the procession.
Now, the hearses don't actually contain a body of a baby, do they?
No, it's just symbolic.
Symbolism, yeah.
And then we had the 300 cars, but we had other cities through local churches, and they had their own procession of healing too.
Wow. Are you getting any feedback from the public over either last year's event or this year's?
Yeah, it was a little. I think because last year it was new, our local news coverage was a little bit It covered more last year. This year, I don't know if it's because it's not an election year. Last year was an election year, but it was a little bit less coverage. But we're real happy because, like I said, we had Johnson City, Tennessee, Miami, Florida. We had Minneapolis, Minnesota, and Franklin, North Carolina. They all did their own procession, and so what we're excited about is the fact that it's coming from local churches, and local churches are starting to get active. You know, some churches are doing things already. Many churches don't do a thing, and their pastors, just don't know what to do, or even they're afraid to talk about it. And so, as we've gone along with this thing, we've found out that the procession of healing is something that enables or equips a church to do something in their local city about abortion.
Right. At least gets them involved somehow.
Have you had
Absolutely.
any protesters?
You know what? We did not. We do not have protesters. We have actually. I think one of the reasons why is because it's a funeral procession, and I'm online with bloggers. We get stuff all day long. I got people out there hating my guts right now, and that's that's okay. That's fine.
Yeah, that's a good sign.
And I think unless if you don't have somebody hating you out there, you're not doing anything.
Yeah,
but
that's right.
but like as the day goes, we didn't have anything. We didn't have any protesters. I think it's because it's a funeral. I think some way, somehow, it kind of disarms them from coming out and doing something.
Well, at least people in the public are seeing it. I don't care how we do it. We've got to keep the abortion issue in front of the American people. And
right. And for us, one of the biggest things, we've got to start getting the abortion issue back in the church. I mean, the church.
If it's ever been to start with.
If it's ever been to start with. And like, we don't point our finger. I mean, 3 years ago, our church was doing nothing. We were against abortion, but we weren't doing anything. And then the Lord really woke us up and just opened our eyes. And so now, you know, like I said, we had our funeral procession last year, and this year we had it in 5 other cities. And I'm getting testimonies from these churches, what it's done in their church, and the fact that the healing it's brought. One lady who was kind of part of getting the whole thing together in her church, she actually was one who had an abortion. Right. But the Lord really, through it, really healed her and brought real closure for her. And so, I mean, just the fact that it's getting in these local churches and out, and then they're doing something in their city, I mean, you know, it's just a wonderful thing.
Yeah, Brother Aaron, why did you add 3 more hearses?
Well, last year we wanted 30 hearses because we have 3,000 abortions in Knox County every year. And so, but then last year we had 14 promised, and then someone wrote an article in our paper and scared them all off. But we did have 1 hearse last year, but this year we had 4. We just wanted as many hearses as possible because of how unique it just looks as it's going down the road.
Well, listen, Aaron, other cities that want to get involved, we put this out last year, and I want to do it again. You have a website. Give us that website real quick.
Right. It's just processionofhealing.com.
Processionofhealing.com.
Yeah, and then when you go there, there's a button for contact, and you can just click on that, and then that will lead you. And
you'd be willing to continue to help other cities set this up?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's what we love that. That's what we want to do.
Well, good. Well, thanks for joining us, and good luck with it. It's a really interesting and innovative idea.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You know, people ask me all the time, what can they do in the pro-life movement?
Use your head.
That's just it. There's as many things to do as there are people in the pro-life movement. And I love new and innovative ideas that bring the Holocaust of abortion into the public life.
I've had somebody, after we had Aaron on last year, a guy called in. He was talking about something else, but he said, I want to ask you something. He said, do you really think this deal with these processions is going to end abortion? I said, no. That's not the issue. We don't know what's going to end it. God's going to end it. Other than that, we don't know what's going to end it. But it's getting people involved, and it's keeping this issue in front of the American people. We're holding the sin of abortion in front of the American people.
That's right.
And I don't care.
That's what the Red Envelope campaign. It
right.
I mean, really, that's not going to end abortion. It didn't save any lives, but for us, it was a tool for us to get our students involved, and a lot of times they back away from political things.
Right.
And it gave us the opportunity to educate the students about what President Obama is doing, and they felt like they were making a contribution. In reality, they weren't really doing that much.
And they said they've got, what, 3 million of them now or something like that?
I mean, it's not going to end abortion, but it's right. It gets people involved. It gets them educated. It makes them feel like they can do something, because a lot of times people say, there's no way I can get involved. There's so much to do. What can I do to save a baby?
Well, so many people think that if you decide to become pro-life, that means, okay, today I'm going to go chain myself to the front door of the abortion clinic and put my feet in concrete, and the helicopter is going to show up, and they're going to shoot at me, and they're going to haul me off, and I'm going to lose everything I own, and people are going to hate me, and my kids are going to wind up in reform school. That's what they think you have to do in order to be pro-life. And what you have to do is bring them in slowly and say, this is what you do. Now, if you want to go to the next step, then you go to the next step. But you can come in at whatever level.
And you can be pro-life at whatever profession you have.
And just putting it out there, because if America's going to embrace it, vote for it, they ought to see it every day.
They ought to see it, right.
Yes. You know, we didn't talk about this last poll that just recently came out.
We did in the news, we talked about it.
Yeah, in the news, of course, but I'm talking about me and you. And and I was thinking, as soon as I heard this, that, oh my goodness, little by little, those things that pro-lifers are doing is beginning to touch the hearts and minds of this nation.
You never know. You know, people say, well, what do you think is causing this change in polling? I don't know. I don't care what's causing it. I just want it to happen.
Well, Mark, I don't think there's a direct thing you can put your finger on. But when you talk about the Show the Truth tours and the campus impact tours and the ultrasound machines and the continued hammering like a steady beat of a drum against the abortion industry again and again and again. That shows a 15-point shift. Remember, the pro-aborts dove 8%, and we jumped 7%. And that's
the election.
The election helped codify a lot of people's decisions on this. But you want to talk about a 9% difference in opinion. In election, you would call that a landslide. And pro-lifers today have the mandate.
Exactly. Well, listen, the biggest story here recently, of course, has been the situation that happened up at Notre Dame. Or let me back up, even though I'm not Catholic, I'll call it what it is. It's a scandal and an outrage that they allowed a pro-abort moral degenerate like Barack Obama to come there. And they openly admitted they did it for the prestige. They didn't, you know, it doesn't matter what the. I guess if he was a prestigious Klansman, they'd have had him there.
Yeah.
You know, all that matters is prestige. It doesn't matter what his mission is. But you know, and a lot of people got a lot of press over this. And I mean, I watched the coverage on Fox when it happened, and I had to turn it off because it was making me sick to my stomach to see this guy Jenkins walk in almost hand in hand with Obama. And this man get this standing thunderous ovation like he got. Meanwhile, outside,
things he said.
Oh yeah, right. And then meanwhile, outside, good Catholic people are getting arrested for being on a Catholic university and standing up for the Catholic position on abortion. They're being arrested. This degenerate is in there with the president of Notre Dame receiving these accolades and getting a doctorate degree.
Making people think he's pro-life, and that he cares about reducing abortion. And then you've got students who are outside who have given up their graduation ceremony for all the hard work that they've put into it because they wanted to make a stand.
Right. And, you know, the picture of seeing that go on, and then at the same time they're showing a split screen, they're showing Father Westland, for example, getting arrested outside. It was just more than I could take, and I couldn't watch it. But in any event, we've got one of the students here, a friend of yours, who's here to join us today. Her name's Anna Franzonello, I think.